Welcome back to the neighborhood, boys and girls. Our next guest is Misty Ralston from Ralston Law. Welcome to the neighborhood, Misty.
Hello, sir.
Awesome to have you in here. You are a part of one of my business networking events.
Yes, I am.
We have a ton of mutual relationships and friends, and it was funny. We got introduced on Facebook by a mutual friend, and then you showed up literally like a week later, you showed up at the networking group that I'm a part of, and I was like, oh, awesome. This is supposed
Small
to be.
world,
So
very
yeah,
small world.
it's awesome. We're going to get into your business stuff. We're going to get into all the really cool stuff. But first, I always like to get a little bit of pre-business, some history. Everybody's got a story, and everybody has like an awesome little journey of how they got there. So how did you go from grade school to law school to now your own attorney practice and everything like that?
Well, I always wanted to be an attorney ever since I was a little kid. I was the one saying, no, I'm not going to dissect a frog because I'm going to be a lawyer and I don't need to.
Okay.
That's not what I knew I wanted to do. I didn't know what kind of law, but I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer. And the kind of law would change. I had a very rough childhood. Okay. My mom said, if you go to college, don't come back. I said, okay, and I left. Did not realize that living on campus, going to school full-time, doing summer classes, graduating in only 3 years, wasn't even 21 when I graduated college, so I couldn't even drink.
Okay.
That I would have to wait 3 years to be able to go to law school because I couldn't get any kind of graduate school loans at the age of 20 unless I had my parents' information, and my mother refused to give that.
Gotcha.
So I said, I'll just go to school in a couple of years and I'll just get a job. And real life happens and bills come in, and every couple of years I'd pull out the book and say, okay, I'm going to go to law school, and then I'd be like, I just can't afford it. You know, Rutgers, I always wanted to go to Rutgers Law. They did not have dorms back then or apartments that you could live in. It was just crazy. I had been in a terrible car accident my senior year of high school where a lady ran a red light. We hit her, we got spun around, we got hit by a truck, we got spun around, we took out a telephone pole. And I had not yet got my license. That cured me of wanting to get my license for about 10 years. My mother had cut out all of the seatbelts in the car, so there were no seatbelts. Okay. She actually broke the steering wheel in half. So I went into sales. I worked for the old electric scooter company, driving the Rascal scooters.
Okay, little Rascals.
I worked for them for years. I worked with banks to set up their gift card programs. I worked for H&R Block for 15 years doing taxes part-time just for fun because I'm crazy. And finally decided... Allegedly, but...
Right.
And I just decided finally, it's time. So when I turned 40, I had lost 200 pounds. I jokingly said to my doctor, now that I've lost some weight, I guess I can sit in the seats at the college, so I guess I'll go to law school. And he was like, you want to go to law school? It's like, since I was 8. And next thing I know, there was an LSAT book arriving at my house, and he pushed me, and I graduated in 3 years, going to school at night, working during the day, working at H&R Block, so a full-time job, a part-time job, and going to school at night, and still did it in 3 instead of 4 years.
Nice.
Swore I would never do family law.
Okay.
You could not make me do family law. Family law is crazy. And I got a job as a law clerk in family law. Best thing ever. It's Jerry Springer all day long. People fight about the craziest. It's real life Jerry
Springer? Oh, man.
People fight about the brands of almond milk that people want to buy. Right. I want ShopRite and you want Wegmans. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
They fight over crazy things. And I loved it. And then what we call jumped the bar. I went from being a law clerk and helping the judge to actually being a child support hearing officer and sitting on the bench making decisions. Okay. And I loved that. I got to literally say, yes, you are the father, or no, you are not the father. So I truly became Jerry Springer. Nice. And had fun with that. And then they dissolved our program. They put us down to the county level, where I did also domestic violence hearing officer and family mediations. And after about 1.5 years there, I decided, I don't like this. I saw how the sausage is made in the courthouse and decided I needed to leave. And when I was starting my own law firm, I said I could either go into family law and be one of those attorneys that is always fighting. Everything's a fight. Even if you want to be collaborative, even if you want to do like collaborative divorce, it still ends up there's a lot of antagonism.
Still a fight, yeah.
Right. And it's hard. Or I could do something different. So I decided to go into estate planning. doing wills, trusts, powers of attorneys, and things like that. And my goal is to keep families out of court and conflict.
Sure.
I am in an organization called Personal Family Lawyers. There's 500 of us across the country. And we all have that same philosophy. Let's have a relationship with our clients, keep them out of court and conflict, give them someone that they can come to for questions, make them feel comfortable. And so now I'm living my dream. I never thought when I went to law school I was not going to open my own law firm.
Yeah.
I wanted security. I wanted a paycheck and the insurance and the vacation time and so forth. And I took a chance, and it's been the best thing I've ever done.
Nice. Now, I know for me personally, doing reverse mortgages deals with a lot of the same things that you deal with. And you have some real uncomfortable conversations, both with the actual client and also with the family members. And talking to someone about a life event that causes you, on our standpoint, to no longer occupy that property as your primary residence, whether it's going into long-term care or passing away or stuff, is always very difficult. And you're a happy-go-lucky person like me, and I really don't like to have the, everybody dies conversation, so let's just talk about the reality of it. But how do you break the ice and deal with conversations where the topic is always death or full-term medical?
Well, unlike you, I kind of enjoy talking about it.
Really?
I'm Christian, so I know where I'm going.
Okay.
Rent's cheaper, the food's better. I'm going to get a perfect body and all the cake I want.
Okay.
So for me, talking about death doesn't bother me. But I have a little crazy sense of humor.
Right.
So my clients tend to look at me sometimes and think, wow, I didn't think of it that way. And, I tell them, yeah, everyone's going to die, but it's not even about death. It's about incapacity.
Yeah, sure.
You were just on a trip, I know. Mm-hmm. You had a training, I think, down in Texas or something down south.
Florida, yeah.
And what would happen if something happened to your kids when your wife was in a car accident?
Sure.
People don't always think that way out. I know a 24-year-old kid who had a baby and had a stroke and died. And he was healthy as a horse. No one knew. It just happens. Right. So it's more than just what happens when you die.
Yeah.
And then we get to the section where I'm going through the will and I'm talking to him and I say, okay, you're all on a vacation. You're all going on a trip together. You figured out you're going to leave this to your husband, then you're going to leave it to your kids, and if something happens to your kids, you're going to leave it to their guardians and all this. Well, what happens if all of you are on a trip and the plane goes down? That's when people start getting emotional. Mm-hmm. When they think their whole family is gone. Sometimes I think they can handle if something happens to me. But when you start asking, what happens if something happens to your child? Or what happens if your child is diagnosed with a mental health issue or a mental health challenge? Are you prepared for that? Mm-hmm. Do we have something in place? When they're 17 and they're getting ready to go to college at 18 and now they're an adult, do you have stuff in place for them? It's things they don't really think through.
Sure. And also like the living will stuff, like we just went through this with my mom, like the do not resuscitate stuff and all that's like, I don't know. I don't want to talk about that with people, Like,
nobody wants to.
We're going to bring you back twice, but a third time, no way. You're out. You're done. You better get it right on the first two.
Nobody wants to, but it's really a gift for those being left behind.
Sure.
This
Yeah, because that's the worst. Trying to guess and see what they would have wanted or making a decision that impacts their life is kind of an undue pressure that you should put on the one of the survivors. I don't want my kids to have to say, hey, look, is this what's going to be? I want to go, hey, this is the deal. Put a pillow over my head. And
I also kind of tell clients, it doesn't have to be a family member.
Yeah.
That is the person that's going to make that choice. It doesn't have to be a family member that's your healthcare power of attorney. Do you want to put that pressure on them when they're in the midst of grieving to also be the one that actually has to verbalize to the doctor, this is what Dad wanted. Mm-hmm. It's okay. I tell people, I personally have 2 friends because I don't want my sister to have to do that because she'll have me hooked up to machines and painting my toenails forever. Mm-hmm. So I have 2 friends that can do it because I feel like, yes, they love me, yes, they care about me, but they're disconnected enough that they can make that decision and take that burden from someone else. Right. I always tell people, do you really want your child to be the one to have to make that decision? Do you think that they're capable of making that decision, even though you know what it is? And then I offer all my clients, many of them don't take advantage of it, but I offer family meetings after everything is said and done. A chance for them to get together and tell why they decided to do what they do. Mm-hmm. I think that's important. I think it's important to have the conversation, especially when you have different siblings, and maybe you're not doing everything equally.
Yeah.
You know, I gave $10,000 to Chris for a down payment on his house. So, Jim, you're going to get an extra $10,000 in the will. Well, Chris will conveniently forget about that $10,000 down payment when Mom's died. All he sees is, wait, why am I getting less? Did they love me less? Did I do something wrong? Am I not a good son? But if you can have that conversation while you're alive, it keeps the family together, and there's less fighting.
And I'll tell you what, I've experienced it personally with my oldest daughter's grandmother, her mom's mom passing away. Money makes people do the most despicable things, and really good people do some really shitty things for large sums, or not even large sums.
Not even large sums.
You know, sums of money. I had an argument with somebody where I was like, you make a ridiculous amount of money, and you are literally trying to screw my daughter out of her grandmother's death wish. Like, she was literally on her deathbed saying, just make sure this happens, and you're making sure that doesn't happen, kind of thing. And, you know, it's just crazy the way people are.
There's some sort of desire of making sure that we get our share and what we deserve, and it never seems to be an equal.
Right.
You always think you deserve more, you know. And then you have, which is very common today, blended families. You know, I'll talk to a lot of my younger families and say, God forbid something happens to you. Your wife, your husband, you're young. Your kids are young. Do we want to put some of the money into a trust if something happens to you and split it instead just leaving it to my spouse?
Yeah.
You know, leaving half to my spouse and half to my children in a trust, so that if you remarry and something happens, now it goes to that spouse, and that spouse may not give it to your kids.
Yeah. And I've had some funky discussions, because like we were talking about, like, I've been married twice. I have stepkids and kids that I raised, and it's tough when you tell your stepkid, I love you like you're my real kid, but then when things go on financially or whatever, I'm like, well, you know, you have another dad who's got stuff set up for you, and it's kind of like, oh, well, I got to do this. And I raised my one stepdaughter from the time she was 3 until she's 22 now, you know, but I treat her like she's my regular kid. But the other stepchild I've only been with for 6 years, and they have a whole nother side of the family, and it's really hard to verbalize all those things and not feel like, you know,
a schmuck.
Yeah. Or you know, like, you don't want to say, yeah, I love you all equally, so I'm going to give you all this or whatever, you know, but you have to make it.
But as a parent, and that's something I try to stress too, as a parent, did you celebrate Christmas?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I always ask, because I know some people don't. So you celebrated Christmas, and I can guarantee all of your kids did not receive the same number of presents, and it did not equal the same exact cost. There's no way to do that.
No.
I've watched my sister try and do it. I tried to spend the same amount, but this one ended up with 18 presents, and this one ended up in 16 presents. Should I buy that? But if I buy them extra 2 presents to unwrap, now I've spent more. You don't do things equally. One kid may need braces, one kid may not. One
you like one better than the other one anyway.
Right.
Too,
Well, that's
being
always
honest about everything.
You know, one goes to medical school.
You gotta have a favorite if you have 7 kids. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Hello.
And that's the one who's going to not take care of you because they know they're the favorite. But seriously, you have these kids, and you're not doing it when they're alive. Nothing's equal when they're alive. One goes to medical school, one wants to be a teacher. You know, you're spending more anyway.
Right.
But there's this thing that says when I'm dead, it should be equal. Right. No. What should be happen is you should be able to explain to your family why you've done it with love and that gift, and then you don't have to worry so much about it.
Okay. So, I know you have the business and everything like that, but I don't take it that you came from a super entrepreneurial background. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't.
No.
How did you start your own business, keep your own books, make a marketing budget, promote yourself, do all this? You know, we're in the same networking group together. How did you go from, you know, law clerk to juggling all these things that it takes to be an entrepreneur and a business person on your own?
Well, I was lucky that I joined Personal Family Lawyer.
Okay.
You know, I'm with 500 other lawyers across the country that I can say, how did you do it? What did you do? Who did you use? And can get lots of interesting referrals and ideas from them. That helped me. Then because I have what I call career ADHD, and I was in sales for a little while, so I've learned how to engage people and talk to people. I call myself a career extrovert, personal introvert. So I go to our BNI meetings and I really don't want to talk, I sit, but then when I talk to my clients, it's like, let's have fun. When I was on the bench, they were like, you don't even sweat. It's like, but that's career ADHD and career anxiety. I can handle it. That's my career. My real life, I'm very, very introverted. Being able to have done taxes allowed me to do my own bookkeeping and taxes and not have to worry about it. I worked as a marketing person doing gift card programs with banks. So I learned that, and it's been amazing watching how my life has taken a little bit of that and grown it together.
Yeah.
It's just been it's very, very foundational.
Okay.
That has all of a sudden made this so successful.
Okay. What do you do for your mental health, your well-being? What do you do? Are you like a meditation and prayer person? You did say, you have a religious background. Is that what you lean on to get you through? Because being a business owner and working 87 hours a week and doing all this stuff is a little bit stressful and taxing.
It used to be cake.
Okay.
Cake was my saving grace.
But not for the last 77 days.
71 days, I have not had cake, so it's been very, very difficult. But yes, a lot of prayer. And I just try and have fun with my clients. So my clients come in, I have my dog there sometimes. Most of the time they come in, I'm wearing jeans and a nice top. I want my clients to feel comfortable. I want to feel comfortable. I'm not going to be the person that's going to have the designer bag and the hair and the perfect nails and everything. I'm here to have fun.
Right.
And if you haven't laughed at least once during our meeting, then I'm going to be concerned because I feel like I didn't do my job right. Because you have to have fun. You have to laugh. You have to look at the lighter side of life.
Okay. All right. Your final personal question.
Okay.
I like the famous person. We're going to go with that. So you can sit down with any person that ever lived throughout history, whether they're alive or dead or anything, and you can have a half an hour with them, any person ever. Who would you want to sit down with for a half an hour and give me like one or two questions that you would ask them?
See, that's tough because, of course, there's the one side of me would say I want to speak with Jesus and be like, dude, did you see my life? Is there a reason why I've had to go through all this? And will I ever have the perfect body? Come on. So there's that. But then there's, if I really had to just be fun, and then there's my career side. I would love to talk with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Who wouldn't? She's phenomenal, of course.
Yeah.
But then there's Tom Hanks. I love Tom Hanks.
Okay, that was out there. I didn't know.
Tom Hanks has a way of looking at things. And I was just watching, an interview that he did last night or the night before where he was talking about this too shall pass.
Yeah.
And he said, rough times happen, this too shall pass. He said, good times happen, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
And I would love to just sit and chat with him because he just seems like a down-to-earth person. And then there's that political side. Who wouldn't want to meet Barack Obama or Bill Clinton or Michelle Obama or something like that? Yeah. So I would have a hard time choosing because I have my multiple personalities.
You had a lot of good names. I like that. I like all that. I would always, if I could sit down and talk to Tom Hanks, I would want to know why he bought all the editions of Bosom Buddies and will not allow anyone to watch it because he's embarrassed of his start on the thing. But I thought that was one of the greatest shows ever.
It's been out and it's on DVD.
Yeah, but
because I have the DVDs.
Yeah, he wouldn't let it go on the whatever the nighttime TV show channel is, where they do all the old reruns. He purchased.
He's been very protective of it.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I always thought that was great. I thought two guys wearing dresses to be in a place to live because they couldn't find it. I thought that was awesome.
They could redo that show right now.
Yeah.
It would be great.
It would be great. Also, Misty, thank you so much for coming by. We'll be back with the next guest on Mr. Mortgage's Neighborhood.